Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And, just I wanted to go on, do a lesson on this article that I came across earlier today, entitled Trump Administration to Seek Federal Charges Against People Snared in DC Crackdown, Sources Say. Okay, and this came out on August 19th, which was about a week ago, a little bit over a week ago. And as I was reading it, the term, all right, or the word Draconian, was just coming to my mind, right? And as we're seeing, the shift in, what Trump is doing and how overt he is making his position, right? His cruelty toward, the tribes, right? The southern and northern kingdom of Israel, which are you so-called blacks and Latinos, right? And Native American Indians. We're seeing that the things that were, prophesied about, the times of Jacob's trouble, right? The times of, him speaking like a dragon is, ringing louder and louder. Okay. And, for us who have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? We, know that these things must come to pass, right? We understand that, as Yahweh Shai told us, that, when these things happen, right, be not afraid, right? Because these things must, take place. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Let's type in afraid. Let's see. And the Lord, he demands us to be, to be of good courage, right? To be courageous, because when these times when these times come, a lot of people are going to be fearful, right? As the scripture says, men's heart is going to fail them for fear, you see. But for the ones who have that trust and faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and the power of his might, then, really, there isn't anything that we need to be afraid of. As King David said, the Lord is on my side, whom shall I fear? You see, but let me see. It's in the book of Matthew. Commotion. No, it says troubled. Be not troubled. But let me just type in commotion. I know it's in Luke 23 now. 21, so I get. Yep. This is the book of Luke 21, verse 9. It says, but when ye hear of wars and commotions, right? You go into this word commotion or commotions. It says instability, that is disorder, right? Confusion, a tumult. Instability, a state of disorder, disturbance, and confusion. See? All right. Unstable, inconstant. Okay. Restless. So when you hear these things, right, the Lord told us, read that in NLT, and when you hear of wars and insurrections, don't panic. Yes, these things must take place first, but the end won't follow immediately. All right. The end is not by and by. And the Lord said these things must first come to pass. So knowing that these things must come to pass, right? Knowing that all of these things are the will of the Lord, and nothing is happening right outside of the will of the Lord, right? Then if you got your trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, then you don't have nothing to be afraid of, right? There's another scripture in the book of Lamentations, verse 3, verse 37. It says in NLT, who can command things to happen without the Lord's permission? See? So nothing is happening, right? None of the evils, none of the, the draconian measures, laws that we are seeing taking shape, right? That is, happening in real time. None of these things are taking place without the Lord commanding it, right? The Lord has commanded it, and the angels, right, are making it happen, right? So, we're not soon shaken. Okay, we're not afraid. We're not, confused or in a state of fear because of these things, but rather we rejoice, right? Because we know that the end is near. So, as far as what's going on, right, let's go into it. It says, President Donald Trump administration this week ordered federal prosecutors in Washington, D.C. to be more aggressive in pursuing criminal cases against people arrested as part of a lockdown in the nation's capital. 3 people familiar with the matter told Reuters. The move marks an escalation, right? And it's all been escalation, whether it be internal, right? The government escalating tensions on the civilian population in America, or whether it be external, right? With these various different countries, escalating war or escalating rhetoric that leads to tensions and strife. Everything is escalating, right? We are in a time of judgment, all right? We're in a time of the visitation of Yahweh Ba'ashem Hawashai upon this world. So the visitation is only going to, increase. And that visitation is a punishment, right? And the punishment comes by way of the form of the plagues that the Lord is sending, you see? And these plagues are not slacking. You got this actual pestilences that are out here, right? These zombie animals, whether the deer, the rabbits, right? The squirrels with the warts. You got also the diseases, right? Certain flesh-eating diseases that are taking place. So, everything that the Lord said was going to happen, we're seeing it take place, right? And once again, it's not slacking. Reading on, it says the move marks an escalation of Trump's push against what he described as a wave of crime and homelessness in Washington, in which the Republican president has already called up hundreds of National Guard troops and temporarily taken over the Democratic-led city's police department. The head of the criminal division of the Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, Jonathan Hornock, on Monday told prosecutors to charge as many federal cases as possible against people arrested in the sweeps, a move that could both strain the court system and raise the stakes for criminal defendants because convictions for federal crimes can carry weighty sentences, said the people, who were granted anonymity to discuss internal department matters. Who were granted anonymity to discuss internal department matters. While many of the U.S. federal prosecutors in that office focused on high-level offenses such as terrorism and fraud, the Washington office plays a dual role in prosecuting both federal and local crimes. Right, so it says in a post on Monday, the Attorney General Pam Bundy said 465 arrests were made in a variety of offenses, including homicide, narcotics, and firearms. It was not clear how many of these could be eligible for federal charges. In line with President Trump's directive to make D.C. safe, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro has made it clear that the old way of doing things is unacceptable. You hear that? The old way of doing things is unacceptable. She directed her staff to charge the highest crime that is supported by the law and evidence, a spokesman for Pirro's office said on Tuesday. So, they're moving, with that fervency. Okay, they're moving in that, just like how I spoke about Alexander the Greek, right, in Daniel's 8th chapter, right? He was moving with Kohler, to the point where his feet didn't touch the ground, speaking about how he was, taking over the lands and taking down these other kingdoms, right? In that short amount of time that he was reigning, which was about 12 years, right? He had about 12-year campaign, but within that 12 years, he did so much conquering, you see? And similarly to the vibration and the spirit that Trump, right, is in, that the Lord has Trump in. See, because even that with Alexander, that was prophesied. Okay, during the time of Daniel, Alexander wasn't on the scene, for a few hundred years. I think about 300 something years, maybe a little bit more. Or 200 something years. But regardless, the way that Alexander was moving was prophesied that he was going to move that way. So when he came on the scene, it wasn't really according to his own will that he was doing it. It was according to the Most High's will. Now, in his mind, of course, he thought, that this is just the way that he was moving in X, Y, and Z, but it was all ordained, right? Going back to Lamentation, what can come to pass when the Lord did not command it. So likewise with Trump, who we believe is that cruel Lord, right? Spoken about in Isaiah, the 19th chapter, Isaiah chapter 19, verse 4, it says, "And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord." See? "And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts." All right. And we know that this place, America, is likened unto Egypt. All right. And in Revelation 11, it speaks about it being spiritual Egypt. Right. The Lord in Deuteronomy told us that we were going to go into Egypt again with ships. So we know that Egypt represents captivity and bondage. Right. So the prophetic vision, right, that Isaiah has in the 19th chapter of this verse, 19th chapter of this book, really points to America more so. All right. So where it speaks about the hand of this cruel Lord, as you can see, the way that the way that Trump is moving, he is moving in a cruel way, right? You see, it says severe, grievous, hard, difficult, obstinate, fierce, intense, vehement, right? Stubborn, stiff-necked, stiff of neck. So, and if you would ask the Israelites, right, there to describe Trump's, demeanor and how he's moving, these are some synonyms that would definitely be prevalent. All right, these are should I say relevant? These are certain synonyms that would coincide to the way that Trump is moving. So let's go into what the word fierce means. All right, so it says harsh, okay, and that's how he's coming. He's coming harsh, right? He's coming, it says, to make firm, to strengthen, and he's really doing that as we read in Revelation, the 12th chapters, because he knows he has but a short time, so he has to move this fast. He has to move, with this cruelty, but he's doing it once again because the serpent, right, was more subtle beast than all of the animals that the Most High created, right? The serpent being Esau, Edom. He's doing it in a way that it still has a certain level of enchantment behind it. And I say that because you have certain people, even Jake, that is looking at what he's doing as a positive thing, right? Oh, he's stopping the crime. He's making, I feel safer. My small business, feel safer. I can walk down the street at night and don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So you have these certain benefits, right? That you can see in front of you, but you're not able to see it far off, right? You're not able to see, right, what's actually taking place in the background. Okay, and that's what people are unaware of, right? That is why the Lord likened, this time as a thief in the night. Because as a thief, right, you can have cameras and all these things set up, okay, but if you're not looking at the camera, right, and the thief somehow, some way got into your house, that camera didn't do any good. You see? So you can have certain things set up, rail guards, but at the end of the day, if it's the will of the Lord for that thief to come into your house, then that thief is going to come in and you're not going to be able to do anything. And that's what Trump is setting up, right? But a lot of people are blinded to that. So reading on, it says, let's see. The setup's pretty much in this. I don't really think I need to read more. But what I did was, right, I think this is another article going in on the same thing. But yeah, it says, so this is basically the same thing being spoken of in this article. But I want to go to this point here. It says, where was it? Yeah, it says, taken together, the pieces form a clear picture. Trump isn't just cracking down on crime in DC. He's laying the legal groundwork for something even bigger. JAG attorneys, which JAG stands for Judge, let me see what it says, just to give you the context. Judge Advocate General's Corpse. All right, if you want to look into that, that's what the term is. If anybody has any more information, then there's information in this article about it, but for time's sake, I'm not going to read it. But reading on, it says, JAG attorneys are not only handling the day-to-day prosecutions, the broken civil system failed to address. They are quietly assembling cases for military-style justice against those who betray the nation from within. For DC, the message couldn't be clearer. The era of protection is over. The tribunals are coming. And in this article, it spoke about how they also, Trump has his sights on other cities as well, Democratic-run cities as well, like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, et cetera, et cetera. So, as we just read, it said that this is something deeper that is going on, okay, and it's laying the legal groundwork for something bigger, because like I said, he's going to do these things, right, these unconstitutional, right, things, but it's going to be presented in a way that he is actually justified in doing so, and that is why when you read in Revelation, the 2nd chapter, verse 10, where it speaks about that the devil shall cast some of you into prison, right? Speaking about Esau, Edom, Yahushua says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. And I always say, in order for him to cast us into prison, he's going to have to be able to do so in a way that seems justified to the public, right? Because, he's going to make us look as the villains, right? He's going to make us just like how Yahushua, right? Scripture says that Yahushua was numbered amongst the transgressors, even though he was without sin. You see? So and that was during the Roman, Empire, which we know that this is the second beast that came up out of the earth that exercises all of the power of the first beast, right? It's that same system, right? And the same people that are ruling. So during the Roman Empire, they had their laws, right? They had their judicial system set up, their due process, okay? But yet they still put to death an innocent man, right? Yahushua, because even Pontius Pilate said it, right? He found no fault in him, all right? And also likewise with Paul, right? We're going through the book of Acts in our daily Bible study. And Paul, right, he was locked up for no cause, to the point where he appealed all the way unto Caesar. And we know, right, according to history, that Paul was put to death under the Roman law. See, he was put to death by the Romans, even though he was a Roman citizen himself, and even though he wasn't actually, breaking any Roman laws, but they had their way to conspire to contort, the rule of law, and he was put to death probably for treason, okay? Because I believe under the Roman law, if you if you announced, right, or professed that there was another king other than Caesar, all right, then you would be, considered committing treason, right? And that was the same thing they did with Yahushua, right? When they said that he maketh himself an enemy to Caesar, right? Something. Let me see if I can find that. Caesar. Nope, not yet. You know what? I believe it's in John 19. Let's try. No, that's the spirit. It went right there. John 19, verse 15 says, "And they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pontius said unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar." You see? So that's how they actually right here, this is another one. Verse 12, it says, "And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not friend, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar." See? And Yahushua is the king, right? The King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Not only is he the king of the Israelites, he's the rightful ruler of the earth. He's the king of the earth. So let's see something. It says, "This veiled threat by it says J.O., but the Jews' leader pressured Pilate into allowing Yahushua to be crucified. As Roman governor of the area, Pilate was expected to keep the peace because Rome could not afford to keep large numbers of troops in the outlying regions. They maintained control by crushing rebellions immediately with brute force. Pilate was afraid that reports to Caesar of insurrection in his region will cost him his job and perhaps even his life. Okay, but nonetheless, this is a good one too. Luke 23:2, it says, "They began to state their case. This man has been leading our people astray by telling them not to pay their taxes to the Roman government by claiming he is the Messiah, a king," which they lied about that. But this is another one. Acts 17, verse 6. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, "These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also." And that's what they say about the Israelites, right? When you have, speaking about, the prophets, you got these Christians, that say, oh, they're causing a ruckus, right? They're speaking hate, right? They're causing problems in the downtown cities. And this is why, you have certain Israelite camps that go out there for contention's sake, right? That prophesy for strife and for contention. And they actually, cause the ministry to be blamed, but that's their lot, right? That is the position that the Most High put them in, and it's ultimately because they're not none of his. So you have, certain false teachers that run but weren't sent by the Lord, and ultimately they're fulfilling a role, right? They're playing a role in this, in this story that the Most High set up. Okay, but you also have, the true men of the Lord that go out there in the highways and byways, and they get scoffed at, right? We get scoffed at. We have people that come and heckle us. You got vocab that comes in and tries to stir up a strife or argument, and then make it big, and then have spectators watch and all these things. And this is why the apostles says to call the cops on a guy, right? Not to be engaged in vain babblings, right? Vain talk, because that's what that is, going back and forth with him. But nonetheless, as you see, right, the accusation that they gave, But reading on, verse 7, it says, and whom Jason has received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, one Yahushua. You see, reading that NLT, it says, and Jason has welcomed them into his home. They are all guilty of treason against Caesar, for they profess allegiance to another king named Yahushua. You see, so this, all of this, when you read in Acts, all of this, led along with the Jews in Jerusalem saying that Paul was basically breaking their law by bringing in a Gentile, right? Which I believe that was either Timothy or Titus, okay, which was an Israelite that didn't grow up in the customs of Judea, right? His dad was a Greek and his mom was a Jewess, but so you had those chief priests and high priests that were basically hating on Paul for his profession, okay, of the gospel of Yahushua to the Israelites that were scattered, right, in Asia Minor, telling them that they, had been the ability to be brought back in through Yahushua, and then ultimately being locked up by the Romans, and then going through that whole trial, which he even, spoke about, he appealed to Caesar. So he went through the whole judicial system and then ended up being put to death. But I say all that to say that this is what you're seeing being set up again right now. And the thing with these crackdowns, right, that they're saying that they want to use federal charges on these really misdemeanors. I went to ChatGPT and then I just typed in, what does draconian law mean? Now, we, obviously have been through this, spoke about it, but now we're living it. Okay. We told you that these days were coming and now they're here. So it says that draconian law refers to the set of laws or measures that are excessively harsh, severe, or oppressive in their punishments or restrictions. Now we spoke about Isaiah 19, the cruel Lord, right? One of the definitions were severe, right? I believe harsh was another one. It says the term originates from Draco, an ancient Athenian lawmaker in the 7th century BCE, right? Which is what in the Greek. And this culture that we're living in is the Greco-Roman culture that we're in right now. Okay. And they practice, once again, where it practices and exercises all of the power of that first beast. All right, which we know is Rome, but Rome also adopted a lot of the Greek culture, Greek laws and system. It says, where were we? Yep, it says, who reportedly established a legal code known for its extreme severity, where even minor offenses could be punished by death or heavy penalties. In modern usage, Draconian describes laws, policies, or actions that are perceived as overly strict and punitive, often disregarding fairness or proportionality. For example, a policy imposing severe penalties for minor infractions, like lengthy prison sentence for petty crimes, might be called draconian. The new examples in sentence, the new regulations were, no, that's just giving a sentence, right? So it says so I typed in, could Trump administration bringing federal charges in DC crackdown be considered draconian? And how does it answer? Yes. Okay. Yes. The Trump administration decisions to pursue federal charges against individuals arrested in a Washington, D.C. crackdown can reasonably be considered draconian, as it involves escalating minor offenses into serious federal crimes with disproportionately harsh penalties, often disregarding proportionality, due process concerns, and the actual decline in local crime rates. This aligns with the historical meaning of draconian as excessively severe or oppressive laws reminiscent of ancient Athenian penalties that treated even petty infractions with extreme measures like death or exile. Okay, now you also had Trump spoke about how he's bringing back the death penalty for murders, right? And he said, if you kill somebody, then you're gonna get the death penalty. You see, he spoke about it in D.C. But once again, what they're doing in D.C. is just laying the groundwork, right, for these other cities. You see, and as it says, and they're bringing in quietly assembling cases for military justice against those who betray the nation from within. So it's not only going to just be criminals, right? Because that term criminal, matter of fact, this was a tweet yesterday or post yesterday. It says President Trump says he has the right to do anything as president of the United States. You see that? He has the right to do anything as president of the United States. So he could change the laws. It does not say that in Daniel, right? He thinks to change the times and the laws, right? We know that speaking about Esau and his system as a whole, right? But the way that Trump is moving is showing you that he has disregard of actual congressional jurisdiction, right? He has disregard of the Constitution, right? He could change if they change the term or the definition of a man and a woman, right? You don't think they can change what a crime is? They're already doing it. You see, they did it with the anti-S, right? And made that more broad. Okay. They're making these offenses more broadened, and then at the same time making the punishment for these offenses more punitive. And that goes into the scripture where it speaks about the spake as a dragon, right? Revelation 13 verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth. This is speaking about the American empire, right? Which a part of that American empire is the EU and NATO, right? The horde that sitteth upon the beast. Reading on, it says, in his head, and he had two horns like a lamb, right? Which we know speaks about the two political parties. Because even when you go into the word, where is it? Yep, the word horn, right? It says a horn as a symbol of strength and courage, and used as such in a variety of phrases. It says a mighty and violent helper, the author of deliverance of the Messiah. See, so their political parties is what is deemed, right, the strength, right, the backbone, right, of the nation. Okay, whether you're under a Republican Party, or under a Democratic Party, in essence, it's the same thing, because they talk about bipartisan agreements and working together with the other side of the aisle, and they're saying they do all this in the name of the strength of Babylon, right? The strength of America, okay, and also for the helping of the American people. That's why it says he has two horns like a lamb. Both parties pride themselves, right, and profess themselves to be helping the people of America, right, as a deliverer, delivering them out of whatever 4 years they were in prior to that, right? Yeah, Trump now is speaking about making America great and the economy great because of what Biden did during his term. Okay, and when Biden came in, he was speaking about the healing of the soul of the nation, blah, 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 because of what Trump did in his term. You see? So they're speaking as a lamb, right? Speaking passively, right? Speaking as they're helping. Salakia had two horns like a lamb, so they're portraying or showing themselves. That's what I meant to say. Showing themselves as being passive and showing themselves as being helping the nation and the people. And he spake as a dragon. Okay, but what they're actually doing is draconian, right? Because as the scripture says, out of the heart, right, the mouth speaketh. Meaning, what's really in your mind is what's going to come out what's going to come out your mouth, right? Is what you're going to act on. That's why it says, and then Esau has the ability to be double-tongued, right? Fork-tongued. He has the ability to speak one way, to speak good, right? But actually, what he really wants to do is evil. All right, that's why it says his words were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. See, that is one of the characteristics of this devil. That's why he is known as the deceiver, the devil, because he has the ability to portray and to speak nicely and make himself look like he's coming for your benefit, but all the while his intentions are cruel, right? And that's why the scripture says, never trust thine enemy. And it also speaks about how in the end, the wicked was going to be revealed. And that's what we have done through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So when you go into this word Draconian, right, it says Dracon, see? And that word is tied to, right, Draco. Okay, they used to have it in the Blue Letter Bible, but they changed it up. They don't show, right, the connection to Draco anymore in the Blue Letter Bible. Matter of fact, let me just go there just to prove that or verify that. But I remember back in the day, like it's a long time ago, but 5, 6, 7 years ago, they used to have this word. They used to have the connection of the dragon to Draco, and now they don't have it anymore. You see, yeah, it's not in here, but nonetheless, it is, tied to Draco, right? And which we read when we was going into on the Gronk, it says what Trump is doing can be considered draconian. See, and that is why the actions that he's doing is becoming more and more harsher, right? Federal charges on these what would be deemed mostly misdemeanors, right? It says the push for federal charges, why it's draconian. It says on August 19th, 2025, Janine Perio, whatever how you say her name, directed prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney Office to charge the highest crime that is supported by the law and the evidence for those arrested in the sweeps, prioritizing federal charges over local ones. This escalates cases to federal court where penalties are often stiffer, right? When I went into the word fierce, it says stiff neck. It says mandatory minimums, longer sentences, and no local discretion for diversion programs. Examples from federal court hearings include a man charged with a federal felony for an open container of alcohol, typically a misdemeanor fine locally. And I believe these may be actual cases, right? No court hearings that have happened in DC so far. So a man got a federal felony for an open container of alcohol, which typically would be a misdemeanor fine. It says another facing federal charges for a drunken vandalism outburst interpreted as, quote, threatening the president. So this drunken individual, right, was just spewing, nonsense out of his mouth, but he is facing federal assault charges for threatening the president. A Trader Joe Sharper charged federally for possessing 2 handguns after what some prosecutors called an unlawful search, potentially violating the 4th Amendment. So if you see these things, right, and you see how they're coming, in DC, and the charges that they're bringing up, this is why they are creating more of these alligator Alcatraz-like detention camps, because the actual prisons aren't going to be enough to hold these individuals. You see, they're going to be putting these people that get locked up, and even some of us may get swept up in it. But the difference is we're not, suffering as a murderer, right? As an evildoer, as a thief, right? We're being persecuted for the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which ultimately Esau is going to make an offense, right? As it says in Isaiah, he maketh a man an offender for a word. See, Isaiah 20 was at 26 and where is it at? It'll be 25. No. Oh, I know what's that? 29. Isaiah 29 and let me highlight this. Isaiah 29 verse 21. It says, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. See, so this is the snare that he's laying down, right? We just read, there's something, it's a groundwork for something even bigger. All right, so this is the groundwork. This is the snare that he's laying, but it's not really a snare for us. You see, because the Lord has allowed us to see these things. You see, that's why he told us to watch. That's why he told us to be sober, be vigilant, so that this time won't come as a snare upon us. Okay. And the scripture speaks about that. He layeth the snare, right? In the book of Psalms. Let's type in snare. Let's see what comes up. I know it's going to be a bunch, but I know there's Psalm 69 verse 22, let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. And this is going to become a trap unto them, right? Because they're doing stuff trying to lie wait for the innocent, and it's really going to be to their own demise. See, the Lord has allowed them to trap up and catch up the wicked of our people. Okay, the ones that are doing evils, the ones that are adversaries into the righteousness and the order and the obedience of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. But this devil, he's also going to touch the Lord's elect, right? He is also going to put forth his hand against those that really are at peace with him, right? Those that are following the laws of the land, right? Those that do lead simple lives, right? Those that aren't menaces to society, okay? But yet, because we profess another king, right? Yet because we wait for hastening the coming of the day of our Lord, that is something that this devil is going to he has a problem with. He has really the biggest issue with, and because of that, he is trying to lay the snare, right, for us, where he is going to deem what we're doing as treason, as enemy, make us enemy of the state, right? Call us domestic tease, all of these things, right? Hate speech, all of these things. But at the end of the day, that snare is going to be something that is going to be for his own downfall. All right, that's going to be for his own collapse of his kingdom. Let me see. Yep. Psalms 38:12. They also that seek my life lay snares for me, and they that seek my hurt speak mischievous things and imagine deceits all the day long. Imagine deceits all the day long. And this is what he's doing, right? He is imagining these deceits, right? These deceptive means to try to persecute us, right? Throw us into prison, right? Label us, all types of evil things, so that they can be justified in whatever types of punishments that they're going to, want to bring upon us. But at the end of the day, the Lord is going to protect us, right? The Lord is going to deliver us from these things. The Lord is going to show his power in us, the vessels of his mercy, because we have nowhere else to go, right? We have nobody else to stand for us, right? We have nobody else to defend us against this devil. And that is why it says here in the book of, was that 1 Peter or 2 Peter? 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 23, it says, start at 22, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, right? And the Lord said that about his elect, right? That the 144,000 that was not defiled were women in whose mouth there was no guile. You see, because we're speaking the oracles of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, right? We're speaking the truth of the matter. Okay, we're not going to be persecuted for murder, right? For robbery, right? For grand larceny, for grand theft auto. We're not going to be persecuted for that. We're not going to be cast into prison for those offenses. Now, they may try to trump up charges, right, and use some deep fake and some AI to make it seem like we did something, but they know that that's not real, right? They know that we didn't actually do those things. So the only thing that they can actually try to get us for, and that's why they're changing up, the definition of, hate speech and all these things, anti-S and all these things, is so that they could make us an offender for the word. Right, but at the end of the day, through the blood of Yahushai, there's no guile found in our mouth. Right, verse 23, who, when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not. And this is speaking about Yahushai, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. And that is what we do. We commit ourselves unto him that judges righteously, which is Yahweh. And Yahweh gave all judgment, according to John the 5th chapter, unto Yahushai. Okay, so you got a bigger problem on your hands, right, you devils? Because when you touch us for teaching and for coming in the name of Yahushai, Yahushai is the ultimate judge. So you coming at us and persecuting us wrongfully, right? And condemning some of us even unto death, but just for the simple fact that you touch the Lord's apple of his eye, period, the ones that are his servants, he's the one that's coming to judge. He is going to exonerate us, and then he's going to discover your sins. He's going to discover your iniquity, and then the time of your punishment is going to be upon you. You see? So there is no way that you can win. That is why, like I said before, whom shall we fear? We have nothing to fear when it comes to these things. We're just, bringing it out because these times are at hand, right? And really, the wicked is going to be caught up in it. But for the elect, hey, the Lord is going to show his power, man. Okay, the Lord is going to show his power in our deliverance. Where is that? Let me get that. Ransom. Wicked. Yeah, Proverbs 21, verse 18. It says in the NLT, the wicked are punished in place for the godly, and the traitors in place of the honest. So yeah, the Lord's going to allow you devils to grab up the wicked of our people, right? And they're going to be punished in place for the righteous. Proverbs 11 and 8, the godly are rescued from trouble, and it falls on the wicked instead. Woo, there you go. So yeah, the draconian measures that we're seeing that clearly is being shown, it's only going to be amplified, right? It's only going to increase. And these are a groundwork for this devil to try to come at us. But at the end of the day, and when you read it in this little excerpt, it tells you that it's coming upon the so-called African Americans and the migrants, right? Which are the so-called Latinos, Jacob's trouble, right? It says this disproportionately and oppressiveness, elevating misdemeanors to felonies, mirrors draconian access where minor acts face outsized punishment. Experts like Tahir Duckett of Georgetown Law called it flooding the zone, risking more uses of force, which he just gave the National Guard
the ability to carry arms, right? Loaded, fire deadly weapons. It says risking more uses of force and eroding community trusts, especially in Black and immigrant neighborhoods. Israel. Jacob's trouble. A federal judge ruled parts of the takeover likely illegal on August 15th. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is another thing that, Nero did, what you see Trump doing, political motivations. Sources familiar with the Justice Department describes it as an escalation tied to Trump's law and order rhetoric, distracting from issues like Epstein files or economic woes. See, so he's using it as a scapegoat, as a distraction, and that's what Nero did when it came to that fires, right? That burned up third of Rome. He, basically used the persecution of the believers of Yahushua, which were called Christians, okay, which were Israelites, right, as a diversion tactic, right, a distraction. And that's what you see happening right now. Because now nobody's really talking about them Epstein files. You still got people, but not on mainstream media. It's not really being spoken of. Now what is really being talked about is, the crime and cleaning up the democratic cities, right? And coming down hard on these criminals, these homelessness, these bad actors, right? These people that are never going to be productive to society, aka you Israelites. That's all a bunch of different proverbs and taunts and names, right? That Esau, calls you, right? Thugs, right? Drug dealers, narco terrorists. Okay. Now they calling Jake racist. You see, they calling Jake racist now, but at the end of the day, you devils are not going to get away with it, man. All right, you're not going to escape, because you've already been revealed and the elect has already woken up. So as soon as you make your move and touch the Lord's chosen, amongst the Lord's chosen, that's when it's over for you. Yeah, you want to have your way with the wicked of our people, because once we just read, they're giving them ransom. But once you get to that point where you touch the anointed, it's a wrap. Okay, and you can bet your bottom dollar on that shit. Where it says, it says in summary, while the administration claims it's restoring safety, right? Speaking as a two horns like a lamb, right? Restoring safety, right? He's the deliverer. He's helping. And some residents in high crime areas may welcome visibility, because you got our people that, they consent. Right, those that consent unto him should be had in derision and trodden underfoot. So you got our people that are consistently consenting. You see how the northern tribes, right, the Latinos switched up real quick. Okay, ain't nobody saying that I will vote for Donald Trump anymore. All these northern tribes, Hispanics that voted for Trump, they regret it. And you southern tribes, you're about to regret it too. But it's too late. He's already there. He's already here, and he ain't going nowhere. It says the evidence points to an overreach that punishes minor issues harshly under federal law, bypassing local autonomy and data showing no crisis. This qualifies as draconian because it imposes severe, unproportional measures on a population already seeing crime improvements, prioritizing optics, and control over fair justice. If expanded nationally, it's not if, it's when this is going to be expanded nationally as threatened. And as we've seen, every time Trump says something, it happens. He does it. Okay. He ain't just, speaking out of the mouth when it comes to the cruelness that he's moving with. It says, if expanded nationally as threatened, it could set a precedent for broader authoritarian tactics. And in that time, that is when the Lord is going to stand up, right? That is when he's going to send that divine intervention. Isaiah 59, verse 19. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, from the west. And that is where we're at, in the western hemisphere. And his glory from the rising of the sun, from the east. So that's all throughout the earth. right? And the name of the Lord has been magnified, and it is feared amongst the elect throughout the four corners of the earth, from the east to the west. When the enemy, okay, who was that enemy? Chief enemy, Esau, Edom, right? Narrow, tight, straight, adversary, foe, enemy, oppressor. Okay, we just read about the oppressive measures that the devil is taking. It says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, right? And this isn't speaking about spiritual demon Satan, right? Oh, that's the enemy. No, there's a physical enemy that is doing this shit, right? And as it tells you, Paul tells you that this wicked is coming to do the work of Satan. He's coming in the energy of Satan. It says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, shall lift up a standard against him, a banner, right? A defense, to flee, to escape. See that? To take flight, to depart, to disappear. So that's that spiritual power, man. However the Lord has it happen, the divine intervention, he is going to set up that standard. He is going to allow us to flee, to escape, so that we won't fall into the hands of this devil. And we've seen it, right, time and time again in the book of Acts, right? At certain times where the angel would release, Peter out of prison, right? The angel, had Paul get released out of prison. See, being released, being delivered from death. So we have an expectation of divine power coming to us. And this is why we're not afraid, right? We don't fear the movements of this devil and what he is doing, because we know that the power that he that be with us, right? The greater is he that is within us than he that is within this world, man. You see, so, I know this is pretty lengthy, but Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. And until next time, Shalom.